this video, we're going to go over daily reports, not only how to set them up to get the information that you want on them, but also a really easy way to carry over the information you need from one day to the next day and avoid all that duplication of entry. So right now we're looking at a PDF printout of a typical type of daily report. And I'll have some basic information here about the project itself, of course, but some general description of activity that's been going on here. A report on the weather. Tap on a icon and you get the weather report directly from NOAA. And then the manpower log, where you can have any number of people who are on the site, including company people and contractors. You put in the numbers and it actually figures out the man hours, totals them up for you. And then also looking at equipment that's on site and who's responsible for it. And then if you want to take some pictures, you can go ahead and do that too, usually when they're coming or going, so you can kind of document the condition of the equipment. And then any materials that were received, snapshots of bill of lading, picture of what you actually received. And as you can see here, you'd have GPS stamps and timestamps that kind of lend a little bit of a credibility to the whole thing. A little confirmation on reporting was completed as required. If it wasn't, you would actually cite what still needs to be done. And then an overall survey, just take a snapshots. You can use the FTQ360's quick shot, to just take one of these every couple of seconds if you want to take like a panoramic view, or you can just take snapshots of different focused topics. This gives a good feel for what's actually going on out there, and to kind of close things off, a sign off, and that's the end of the report. So let's take a closer look at what actually happens in the field on a mobile device like an iPad. So here you'll recognize the inspection screen, and you can add various different bills of lading. So all these dynamic things allow the daily report to expand as necessary to accommodate exactly what you're experiencing there. You're able to add all kinds of different issues that you find along the way. The way that we set this up was a dynamic selection checkpoint, so you can choose the general trade. So this allows the daily report to report issues by trade. And then once you click the issue, what you're able to do is, of course, take pictures and add notes. You're able to assign it to specific responsible party here. And of course, set the date, due date, set the priority, reason codes, and so on. So you're able to get very precise in how you itemize deficiencies that might come over the transom. Of course, you can add multiple issues, just like we've been able to do all along. You can do the same thing with safety issues, like observations and violations. But you can also add action items and requests for information, things that you ask people to do. You can also use this for requests for information. You can have the engineer go ahead and respond to your request for information. Of course, you can add any number of photos and then your signature here. Now, let's say you have this daily report that you have for day one, and now you want to carry the information that you want over to a new daily report for day two. So we will copy the report. And you see you can go back to the original, but this is your copy. And we've selected which checkpoints actually get copied over and which ones don't. So here we see, the general description of work, it was more convenient to copy it over and edit it and add information than it would be to start from scratch. But we also know that weather is not something that is going to be carried over or should be carried over. So here's where we say, okay, do not carry the information from one day to the other, because what we want to do here is click on the weather right now and have the system get the weather and insert it right in there, okay? So we use a similar approach where we'll carry over the manpower. Of course, these can be edited or blanked out or just put 0 or nothing for someone. But if we have people who are now working in day 2, we want to start off with an actual entry of the quantity of personnel and hours on site. So we would actually say, okay, we have 2 people here, 8 hours, and 2 people here for 8 hours, and keep on going down the line. And what's happening is that it's actually tallying them up, calculating the number of man hours, and then totaling them up at the bottom. Of course, you can add new manpower as needed. Same thing with the equipment on site. What it'll do is carry these things over. If you need to add equipment here or delete equipment, you can go ahead and do that on here. So this is basically saves a lot of time on the second day of a report. This could continue on as you needed. Maybe at some point you want to start fresh, but at least here you're able to save time as you go from one day to the next. So now we'll take a closer look at setting up the actual checklist template so that we get the kind of behaviors that we're looking for. So if you recall that we had to enter weather conditions, this is one of the items that we did not want to carry over to the new day. And so we have a copy mode. We can choose copy everything, which is like identical to the original, all the data, but no attachments. So if you attach pictures or any kind of PDF files or reports, then those would not be copied over, or it would just reset it to the original state by copying nothing. So in this case, we're looking at weather. We don't want it copied, so we set it to nothing. On other things, like on the matrices where we have the manpower entry, you recall that we had a quantity of personnel and hours of duration. Well, the quantity, we wanted the description of work to copy over, and it would have the default of all data is copied over. There are no pictures on tables. And what we also did was to, let's say, the quantity of the personnel. We did 2 things. We copied nothing so that we don't get the quantity of personnel copied over. And we also have a summary function that totals up all the rows, and we set that so that it does that. And we did one other thing, which is we actually calculated the man hours. And not only did we calculate the man hours, and then we also have the summary function, which carries those calculations down to the bottom into the summary. So in this case, this is just going to be calculated automatically. Let's take a look at materials. So bill of lading, photos, those would be something that would be on a daily basis. So here we would remove dynamically created items. Okay, so we don't have those things coming over. This is how we use some of the features in FTQ360 to set up your daily report and make it very easy to use.